In the first 8 weeks of submarine warfare in the Mediterranean, the Royal Navy lost 4 of its submarines to enemy depth charges.
If I told you how many times I've escaped death, you wouldn't believe it. Like tossing a coin to decide which submarine to go in. I went in the Rorqual and the other fellow was sunk on his first patrol.
And when I first stepped aboard, you seemed to be walking forever. You never reached the other end. She was beautiful inside. And then to go into the mining casing, it was called, you just couldn't believe it. The space.
Below her top deck, the Rorqual carried 50 mines, which were moved along a small railway line to be dropped astern through a set of doors. In the clear waters of the Mediterranean, submarines were an easy target for patrolling aircraft.
They weren't so good as they thought they were. They were too clumsy, lumbersome, took too long to dive.
The survival of Malta was the key to everything. For more than a year, Axis bombers and submarines tried to starve out all resistance. The supplies that did get through mostly got there by submarine.
We used to take tanks full of aviation spirit for the aircraft, you see. And also inside the submarine, you couldn't bloody move.
If it wasn't for the big sea-going submarines, I think Malta would have fallen, too, really. It was only the submarines that saved Malta during the war.
In June 1941, command of Rorqual passed to Lieutenant Commander Lennox Napier. It was a time of great danger. On one return trip from Malta, Napier had the chance to make his first torpedo attack, but it was a near disaster for Rorqual.
Your life was in his hands, and he always seemed to get out of trouble. I don't know how we got out of it, but we did.
In the first 18 months of the war, German U-boats sank nearly 700 ships, equivalent to more than 3 million tons. Most of the losses came in the North Atlantic.
Torpedo load!
As the fighting intensified in North Africa, Rorqual was ordered to lay mines to disrupt Rommel's supply lines.
We laid, I think, 2 or 3 mines, and the laying gear jammed. Well, there we were dived in very restricted and heavily patrolled waters, so there was nothing we could do. I laid the mines, and then we pulled off out of this area as soon as we could, because it was not a pleasant place to be hanging about.
Your life was in his hands, and he always seemed to get out of trouble. I don't know how we got out of it, but we did.
But the moments of intensity and danger were interspersed with days of quiet and boredom.
I used to lay in my bunk at night and have the light about that position there. Of course, I had no shirt on or anything. A sheet of paper on the chest, and I'd get a box of matches, and I'd burn the cockroaches off. And as they fell down onto my chest, more used to come, and that used to be a pastime for a while, like, you know, then I'd get fed up with that, throw the cockroaches away and turn over. I would wake up during the night and I was wringing wet through with sweat. And the dream or whatever it was I'd had, nightmare, whatever it was, I'd been sunk in a submarine and I couldn't get out. And I thought, well, I've got out this time. What will happen eventually? One of these days I'm not going to wake up.
With the war nearing its end in Europe, attention focused on the Far East. Under its new captain, John Oakley, Rorqual was sent to the Pacific. The Rorqual had made 44 war patrols, during which she laid 1,165 mines and by gunfire or torpedo sunk 15 ships.
In 45, 46, I was in the submarine base as an instructor. And I heard a buzz that the Rorqual had come in. And I went down on the jetty and there was the poor old Rorqual, looking very, very pathetic. They'd gutted her. And I went aboard and, oh, it was terrible. 2 days later, along come a tug and towed the old girl away for razor blades. And I thought, that's not fair.